Do we want to talk about Heinz Field and on-campus stadium?
I mean,
Bullshit?
I can read my tweet. I think that, like, I don't know. I think, like, the national media is, like, insane about the stadium. I think, like, we can keep it brief. I mean, like, essentially blaming Pitt for a stadium that both Pitt and the Steelers lease from Allegheny County is just a complete lack of any knowledge from all parties involved. Fuck Pat McAfee. Fuck Tone Diggs. You don't know shit. You don't care about Pitt. You're you're from Plum and the surrounding area. You should care and promote the collegiate athletics of the city of Pittsburgh, and you don't, and it's bad. But I digress.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lottery-winning style week for the Heinz Field grounds crew because they done fucked it up, and then nobody blamed it on them. Which, okay, whatever. At least once a year you're gonna get the fucking dumb take that honestly, if you have a blue check, it's fucking free engagement in the city, so why not? Oh, Pitt needs to get their own stadium. It's like, okay, man, look on Google Maps. Where are you going to put a stadium? Like, not even like where are you going to put a stadium? Because everybody knows there's no place to put a stadium in Oakland. Maybe you can fit one in like you either build the stadium into a cliff or you'd have to like blow up like an entire block of housing for it. But the thing about having Heinz Field, which is nice, is that they have all the tailgate lots built in. Where are you putting fucking 20 tailgate lots? Like that's I don't know. But you know what? As friend of the show, Stephen Thompson put it. I know the perfect place and actually the only location where Pitt can put a stadium on campus. And I know where they can put it. It'll be perfect. There'll be tailgate lots for everybody. I'm not going to tell you though. You got to figure it out, bro.
First down, goes to the sidelines, has a man
reminds me of last year in the Garden against St. John. And guys just stepped up. Blake hits a what the hell 3. We're like, what are you doing? And he's done that all year.
Klicka out to Bizzario. It's over. The Pitt Panthers have upset Wisconsin.
Anybody if he hits his field goal. Up and got it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Simplified Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Kaminsky. I am joined tonight by Ian Labach, my co-host. First off, Ian, how we doing?
Vibes are high off the Pat Narduzzi radio show. Just talked to Ryan Baer. The O Block is buzzing. I still don't know if I can get that to like catch on, but
I'm gonna keep it above with you, man. I don't think that the O Block is gonna catch on, but also I do want to say shout out to Ryan Baer because I'll let a little behind the scenes in. I was day drinking heavy for this game, and it was one of those days where you day drink and then you fall asleep at around 8:30. So I woke up at like 2:30 in the morning, and of course what I do is I'm posting at 2:30 in the morning because I can't go back to bed. Shout out to Ryan Baer for retweeting us at 3:30 in the morning on Sunday.
I did not know that. Let's go.
The tweet I sent out that was like Ryan Baer at the end of the Florida State game where he's like celebrating the offsides penalty from Florida State. Go back and watch that clip. He's like hitting every single celebration that he knows, but all at the same time. So he's just like basically just waving his arms around in the air like he's like waving like the terrible towel or something. It's really funny, and he's retweeted us before. He's a friend and ally of the show. Also, we got news that another friend of the show, Noah Donovan, he made a gif of Pat doing the Florida State chop from the field pass video. Big fan of that, right?
Yeah, Pat Narduzzi, big fan of that. Pat Narduzzi, when Pitt is winning, is like a top tier troll. Like the Neil Brown shit was hilarious. He's always good for a couple good one-liners. When we beat West Virginia in 24, he like took a raccoon hat and like stomped on it like in the student section. Like Pat when winning, it's awesome. But I digress. Back to the Ryan Baer talk and O Block. I mean, the play you're talking about, Lyndon Cooper acted like he was shot by 17 snipers on the on that offsides call. I mean, I've never seen a guy that's like probably well over 300 pounds like get shoved that hard with that little force. Like, awesome. Was watching the game at Gene's watch party, 10 to 12 mimosas deep. Vibes were great, and I'm just ready to keep this shit going.
I'm ready to defend my fellow centers because playing center sucks ass. When you're down on that ball, it is very easy to lose your balance. I'll tell you that much. Also, just before we get started here, our other co-host Mason Kling will be joining us later. He is right now eating dinner. Oh wait, he's getting on now. Would you speak of the fucking devil? Come on,
He has risen.
He's guessed 3-4 something. I can see it.
Back from his 17 weddings that he always has to go to.
Mason Kling back from 17,000 fall weddings. Now, I'm going to ask you how you're doing, but I'd like to break the news here. You are officially legally changing your last name to Heintschel. Is this correct?
Yeah, I was wondering when that bit was coming. It's a good time to be a Mason associated with the Pitt Panthers. So whatever I can do to help the cause.
Well, with that, we're just going to jump right in. You know the score. You love the score. Pitt 34, number 25, Florida State. They upset a top 25 team on the road after being a 10.5-point underdog when the lines closed. It wasn't a perfect game. It was not a clean game by any stretch of the imagination. Mason Heintschel had some freshman moments. There were some, let's say, moments from the usual suspects in the Pitt secondary. But the offense looked good. The defense, while leaky, stepped up in big moments. There was a big special teams play in this game. Where do we want to start with Pitt's 34-31 win over Florida State?
I mean, I feel like it has to be the catalyst for this offense. And as much as I love Mason and what he did this week, I think you got to start with ACC receiver of the week, Pitt running back Desmond Reed.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell how much this team was hurting just in all facets of offensive game without him. They still moved the ball without him, but you could tell second half West Virginia, Louisville, Boston College, not so much because Boston College is the worst team in the ACC that's not named North Carolina. But I mean, what he did, like you said, he wins ACC running back, receiver of the week as a running back because he catches 2 touchdowns. He has a $155 through the air, almost at 200 total yards. Like, he is such a special player. He took, basically dump off passes that, he gives you that first down leak out option, right? But I think out of his 13 or so catches, 5 of them went over 14 yards. He's a first down machine. And he takes these small, short passes, and he's so fucking fast that he breaks them into 50-yard gains, and it gets you set up in the red zone. It gets you set up to do all other kinds of shit. Like, he is such a special player.
He's special too because you're right, Zach. The short passing game really suits him. But he had a couple catches this game too where he was his touchdown where he went up and got it. That's not the screen game. That's him being a great athlete. That was a cool play.
Almost I was thinking about this. I don't know if you let me know what you guys think about this take with Desmond Reed. And I think as they currently are in their roles in the offense, Ja'Kirian Turner and Jules Goff are much more traditional running backs since you hand the ball off and they can play in the receiving game. When Des Reed's in the game, they see the short pass and screen game, especially short passes where he's being covered by a linebacker, as an extension of the run game, in my opinion. I don't know if you guys see that with Des.
No, I totally agree because as we talked at length early in the season about Cade Bell's offense and not necessarily being a great running offense, he sees these dump off and leaks to receivers or running backs as an extension of the running game to try and get the ball out quick to the sideline. One thing I want to add about Desmond Reed, only 8 catches to get 255 yards, and I'm going to ask you guys, what do you think his yak was?
Oh, that's got to be crazy. I bet at least 100 of those came from.
I'll go $130.
It was 109.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did say 15. I meant 15 touches. So of was 15 or 19 touches. 4 of them went for 14 plus yards. Like, he's such a special player. And like, you saw his impact from the fucking first drive on the field, which I want to start with, because he and Mason were making these big plays on third and pretty long to set up 3 fourth down conversions. Like, they came out of the gates in this game fucking firing. They're like, their mindset going in is like, we're gonna win this game and we're gonna go for fourth down 3 times, go and get it. Also, shout out on the last one to Joel Goff. Didn't get his number called a lot on Saturday, but he threw a key block on the deuce span Wildcat run, popped him open just to get a first down. I do I'm interested a little bit in the deuce span Wildcat package, because he, as the broadcast noted, he is a former quarterback in high school in Illinois. He transitioned to wide receiver, maybe at Florida State. I'm not too sure on that, but like, yeah, they were just ultra aggressive. The play calling again was honestly fantastic, and I think they almost got to 500 yards of offense in this game. I really should pull these stats up before I start talking about my ass.
476.
Yeah, almost 500 yards of offense. The ground game was working. I mean, fucking, want to talk about another running back, Shakirian Bougie Turner, 2 touchdowns, both on running plays. You know, the first one, him getting around the edge, the line was blocking for him, sealed that edge, got him sprung free for a 10-yard score, and then the game sealing touchdown late in the fourth quarter. Shout out to Kenny Johnson, man. A little bit of a quiet day for him at receiver, but he motions in, goes right through the hole, and just blows up, I think, the safety.
Yeah, the safety was in the box, and he just blocks him into the end zone.
Yeah, untouched, man. It was a fun day. Last one to shout out on offense, because he was the ACC quarterback of the week. That would be Mason Heintschel. He had 300 something. Actually, I do have the stats here. 16 23, 236. 3 touchdowns. I'm looking at Castellanos' stat line. That I knew that looked wrong. 21 to 29 for Mason, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, but also 113 yards on the ground. He was a monster, and I think I said this on last week's show. He's what the archetype is of sneaky athletic. He made a lot of DNs miss and made plays for himself. The touchdown passes, the long one to Desiree is awesome. We'll get to the other one in a second. But he's making smart decisions. He is also really smart at escaping the pocket at just the right time. You know, he did have some mistakes. You know, he spun himself into a sack. He had 2 picks, but he's a true freshman starting on the road. This is completing almost 70% of your passes on the road and throwing for 2 scores that's more than I can ask for.
Yeah, he was. That's what I was really impressed with, was the awareness, because that's something that you can't really coach. I think some of that decision making will get better over time, but having the feel for the pocket to realize when it's time to pull it down and run is the biggest thing that was kind of different between him and Eli, or when to not throw a ball. Mm-hmm. He also was really good at least twice, where he would kind of bait a defender into scrambling, making the defender commit to him, throwing a little Pat Mahomes sidearm, dump off to one of his backs to go get 8 or 9 yards, which is like, that's stuff that is really tough to coach, playing on the fly like that.
Yeah, I mean, Mason looked better than I could have imagined. I mean, I had a lot of people that are not Pitt fans tell me that I acted this way when Eli Holstein was introduced as a starting quarterback. And, I took a little bit to think about back then what had happened. And, they might be true, but also I don't Eli Holstein's best game as a redshirt freshman, not even a true freshman. I think Mason in this game looked better than Eli ever looked in the offense. So I got to give him that. And I mean, I think the sky's the limit in this offense for him. I know it was the big reason he came to Pitt. So him and Cade Bell have that good relationship, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Did Eli Holstein ever beat a ranked team? Because I know we had some quality, we beat West Virginia, and they might have popped into the top 25 then after they went on their run last year. But
no, they didn't go on a run. That was 2 years ago.
Okay. But that to say, Ian,
was
I think
Was Syracuse ranked in that game?
think
They ended up
so.
being ranked at the end of the year, but when you think about that, Eli played extremely poorly in the Syracuse game. Like he was pretty bad. I think he had 2 picks in that game. Like what you guys are getting at? Like Eli, for as much as I love him and he's like a playmaker, he never showed this level of decisiveness and smarts with the football. And even if I think Eli still is probably the more athletic of the 2 quarterbacks, Mason is also the smarter runner, and he's the more effective runner. Like Eli would either bail too early or too late and not pick up that much. But Mason, this is also credit to the O-line playing very well these last 2 weeks shout out to Ryan Coretta, who's going to be the starting left guard moving forward. I think he's playing fantastic. And Kendall Stanley filling in for Percy at left tackle. They played great today. Only give 4 sacks to a very talented Florida State D-line. But yeah, I mean, he has like Mason, you said, you can't really teach feel, and it's unfortunate to say, but Mason's got the better feel at this point. And it kind of shows in like how successful the offense was. I mean, I'm on Game on Paper here, Pitt had a 49% success rate in this game. That means over half of their plays were considered a success. They had 7.4 yards per play in this game. It was 9.7 yards per drop back, 15% explosive play rate, which is 97th percentile. Like, man, the offense is clicking. The offense is really clicking. Also, before we move to the defense, because I do want to talk about the defense here, shout out to Jake Overman and Cade Bell on the shovel pass that had the boys bopping. That was incredible. You love to see a shovel pass, especially one that goes for 12 yards on 3rd and 2. That was that gets the people going, especially here in Pittsburgh with that 2016 team.
I think it's set up perfectly, right? Because like you've seen them run that rugby style toss so often with Mason, and then to have the confidence to go back to that rugby style toss and shuffle pass after Mason double pumped the toss and throwing it off of Turner's back on the first drive shows that Cade Bell has complete confidence in his quarterback. And just like Mason doesn't waver in his ability to play quarterback for Pitt. I mean, we didn't get to the interceptions yet, which like I think were like the big test that I wanted to see. Because in that Boston College game, like we completely outclassed them to the point where I don't think Mason faced any adversity in that game. But to see him go on the road, throw 2 picks, come back like nothing happened, still playing the same game that he did is just poise that I haven't seen from a true freshman quarterback in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Like Pitt really had a chance here to let things spiral going into the second half, right? Like it's tied 14-14. So Mason throws a deep ball that he probably shouldn't have. Probably should have underthrown a little bit. Get Blue Hicks a chance to get on that ball. It ends up being an arm punt. You can live with that. Defense and especially ends up making a play. There's Josh Guerrier who ends up tipping a punt, only goes for 20-something yards. And then Mason makes a really bad throw. I mean, you could argue that the ball might have been intended for Kenny Johnson, who ends up slipping on this play, goes right into the hands of a Florida State D-back. But then, Florida State marches down the field after that point. They get that long bomb touchdown on the broken play, and like you're down 21-14 coming out of half, right? Mason steps up and just lets the interceptions wash off him like water. He was playing awesome in the second half. The only bad thing that happened was that fumble on the long scramble. Heintschel, you got to learn how to slide, man. I know you're athletic. I know you probably crave contact because you are an 18-year-old hopped up on adrenaline in a football game. But Pitt, they had some sort of higher force on their side where that ball gets perfect peanut punch out by the Florida State safety. Jake Overman dives in and ends up pushing the ball right into Jakirian Turner's hands. But even with that mistake on the fumble, outside of that, his play in the second half was fantastic. And yeah, he came back out ready to win the game. Didn't let those picks get to him or kill like the momentum that Pitt had.
Can we talk about the first drive and Narduzzi finally going for it on a couple 4th downs? Not 1, not 2. But I think it was 3. No, 2 on the first drive.
3. It was 3, and I did mention a little bit earlier that like they got big chunks on 3rd and long to make it 4th and like 1 and 2 each time to make it able to go for it. This has been something I've been saying lately, but I think that Narduzzi has been more aggressive on fourth down, especially with Cade Bell's offensive coordinator. Think back to the Cal game last year where Des Reed springs like a 70-yard touchdown on a 4th and 2 from Pitt's own 30 at that point. But I think it was just they came into the game wanting to win. They're like, we're gonna make a statement here on this first drive that we're here to play. We're not gonna roll over to a team that's favored by 10.5.
Yeah. The one on the second two were kind of no-brainers because I'm sure the analytics say go for it there. But the one on our side of the field, the first one was a big balls play, and I appreciate that.
Also, I loved the play call there where just a Des Reed leak out of the backfield, wide
Yeah.
open.
Little rub route.
He might have even scored on that play if he didn't slip up.
Yeah, it was having a handful of plays like that where you can go and get a yard, it's huge. Pull them out. Having an athlete like that can go and get a yard, it's huge. We were way better with time of possession this game too. I know we've talked about that on previous podcasts, but we finally outpossessed a team. I'm not sure what the numbers were in Boston College, but that was kind of a little bit of an outlier.
We outclassed a team of equal or greater talent level than us, I would say.
Yeah.
Do you have the split in front of you? Actually, the game on paper does not show.
It was 32 minutes, 35 seconds for us to 27 minutes, 25 seconds for Florida State.
Yeah, we were touching on it last week, but I think that the tempo, they still do use the tempo, but they're not going at as insane of a breakneck pace. And that really is, helping out the entire team as a whole. The offense looks better. The defense looks a lot better most of the time. Do you want to talk about the defense, though? It was a glitchy day for the defense. Listen, you got to give props to Florida State. They're a great running team. They got their successes against us. We got stops when we needed them. They gave up a little bit too much to Tommy Castellanos through the air. It was really, though, he throws 3 touchdowns. I think the latter 2, the ones at the end of the first half and the end of the second half, were both weird broken plays. And this is really the only complaint that I have about the defense today, because when they need to step up, they did. Timon Lynham first came back from injury on that Hail Mary with 14 seconds left, just stands on the ball, lets the Florida State wide receiver get under it and catch it and just score that touchdown. And then the end of the second half, the one, they get within 3. It's Javon McIntyre, who I think we can safely say probably would not be playing if Cruz Brookins was healthy. And that long touchdown is evidence of that. Other than that, though, they sacked Tommy Castellanos twice. Kyle Lewis had that huge tackle for loss. He gets ACC linebacker of the week on that fake dive reverse play. They were nobody. Gavin Sawchuk, who I think is their best back, had 70 yards on 13 carries. It was still a productive day through the Florida State offense. If you're looking at the game on paper thing, all their offensive stats are in the green as well. It was a game where it was, defense was not heavily featured, I would say. But man, the offense found a way to win, and when the defense needed to step up and stop them, they did. They stopped them when it was tied up, and they got those 2 scores to go up 10. And at that point, the bomb was it was what it was. Kyle Lewis gets the onside kick recovery, and then as we mentioned earlier, they had the funniest way to lose a game, which is a offsides into automatically losing. You gotta love that.
Yeah, that onside kick was scary though. The old the spinner. Mm-hmm. They let that get a little closer than they should have, but whatever works.
It was weird because it was very, very slowly making its way towards that 10-yard marker. And shout out to Kyle Lewis, man. He made the right play. He's is getting a little closer comfort. I'm going to dive on it safely. He gets the ball, and that's that.
We had no ball boy incidents this week. In a row. But I wanted to shout out because he won Pat Narduzzi's defensive player of the week. But Kavir Baines Marquez, is he from UC Davis? I can't remember, but
he's. I used to know this because we've talked about this before. He's come on, load.
It's on ESPN. So
Why does the Pitt page not? Yeah, he was from UC Davis. That's
okay,
correct.
yeah, he had 13 tackles. ESPN credits him with, which from like a safety spot, like really took that Cruz Brookins in the box safety rolling and played it pretty well as a guy who, like, a lot of people, Pitt was his only I think only D1 offer in the portal, so to have a guy who was undersized, and that it goes back to the theme that I have to explain to people when they ask what is the identity of Pitt football. In my mind, and the identity of Pitt football is taking guys that don't have a chance anywhere else. They're 2 and 3 star high school recruits. They're guys in the portal that haven't played other places, and they work their tails off and they find success at Pitt. You look at everyone that we've talked about, not as much on the defense, but do we have any more on the defense? Or
I mean, if you want to talk about guys who are like, you want to talk about like, because I said this over the weekend too, is like a huge strength of this staff is finding these 3-star recruits, not so much 2 stars anymore. I think the last 2-star they really brought up was out of high school was Rashad Weaver. Obviously, I think Des Reed would have been like a 2-star technically out of high school because I think they give most guys who go FCS 2 stars. But they find these guys who are maybe under scouted, under recruited, and they're like, you can play, and we're going to develop you. And you think about true freshmen making impacts. Sean Lee, Mason Heintschel, Jakarian Turner, all 3-star guys. Shad Harrison, who had a big fumble, who caused a big fumble to set up one of Pitt's scores, 3-star guy. Also, shout out to Shad Harrison for that turnover and Jasir Whittington for the recovery, first turnover of his career. But you think about the offense too. Like Kenny Johnson was a 3-star guy. Like you're right. The real identity of a program, like holistically under Narduzzi, is developing these under the radar talents, and like they've got a real fucking eye for catching these guys.
So. Yeah, and I mean, like, this is how Pitt finds success in the next level of whatever college football is. The thing that Pitt now has to prove to us is, can Pitt retain this talent, which I am confident that we can because of the I think that Pitt can retain this talent and keep building off of this and still be successful in this way moving forward.
I think so too. They're a good relationship building staff. A lot of these guys that get in the portal that aren't, guys like Baines Marquez who are coming up from lower levels, so they find a real gem, right? There's a lot of guys they could bring back in the portal are guys that they were recruiting in high school. Devin Shire, Derek Davis, these guys who come back and it didn't work out at Florida or LSU or these Big Ten schools. We'll take you. Jaden Bonds, who's going to be one of those guys. He obviously gets hurt before the season starts. I think Kyle Lewis, too, is a 3-star guy. Like, they just find guys who they know can play, even if they're undersized, and they'll make them into NFL talents. I don't know. It was a fun game. I think the defense definitely bent a little bit too much. Narduzzi definitely said that during his press conferences, but it's going to happen. Florida State's a very talented team, but hey, man, the offense score with anybody as long as the defense makes timely plays. It's still a very, very dangerous team, very much alive in the conference after a 2-2 start. So, what more can you ask for? Any other thoughts on this game?
It was a fun bet. I didn't take Pitt money line, but I did take them points. So it was very much. I was like, they're gonna cover. They're gonna cover. I was like, holy shit, they're gonna win. They're gonna win, and then they did it. I was like, I should have taken a money line, but nah, this was a great. This is one that we needed. I think we can talk about the rest of the schedule later, but we got a couple winnable games here, and then we get to uh, three tough ones to round it out. So excited for that opportunity.
Yeah, let's call them 3 tests, shall we?
Yeah.
As a man who took the over and Pitt money line, it was a good weekend.
Sharp. It's sharp.
Some sports book needs to sponsor us. That's all I'm saying.
Taking blood money at this point. I was with Kent. Obviously, everyone knows former co-host of the pod. I think he had both. He had both money line and spread, and then he had a parlay that didn't cash. I think James Madison ends up fucking him. But Speaking of other games, let's go into the rest of the Week 7 slate. You're going to talk about the big ones here. I want to touch on a couple of weeknight scores, mostly in the AAC race. Looking forward to the playoff bid from the G5. Tulane and USF beating ECU and North Texas, respectively, kind of along with Memphis keeping their name on the top of the pile in that conference. USF putting up 63 on North Texas is crazy at home, too. That is a walloping. Going into the Saturday slate, Ohio State stays number 1, beating Illinois 34-16. I don't really have much here. Ohio State's kind of sat on them.
They finally gave up a red zone score, so congrats to Illinois for that.
Congrats, Illinois. You didn't lose to them as much as you did to Indiana, who we'll get to later. In the SEC, Alabama outlasts Missouri 27-24. Boys, it's looking like A&M and Alabama in the SEC. We'll jump around here, but A&M beats Florida at home. If only I could find that final score.
Supposedly they have the money to fire Billy Napier after this week, but that's when Billy Napier wins 5 straight and keeps his job. So
we'll see about that. Yeah, A&M wins 34-17 at home. Georgia beats UAB only 20-10 in a ref show game. LSU looked like crap against South Carolina 20-10. I'm not paying them any mind. To me, of course, Ole Miss only beats Washington State by 3 when they were a 20-something point favorite in that game.
I thought they were going to do it too. I really thought Washington State was going to pull through.
If Julian Duggard was playing, they would have pulled it out.
Yeah, that's our radio KHBQ take of the week. No, man. I like if I'm looking at the SEC, I think right now it's Bama and A&M. I don't think any of the other teams are like really good enough to stay unbeaten the rest of the way, do something in the playoff. You probably get at least teams in, but I think those two are the most serious at this point.
Yeah, Georgia, LSU, and Tennessee will hang around.
I mean, if Nussmeier's hurt, I think that LSU falls off a cliff. But he's a dead man walking at this point.
Nothing's very good.
Yeah.
Also want to shout out UCLA. Shout out Tim Skipper beating up Michigan State 38-13. Was Deshaun Foster the worst head coach of all time? I think the answer may be yes. They've now won 2 straight. Shout out to UCLA. Talk about the big ones here in the afternoon slot. Red River, Oklahoma loses Texas 23-6. Texas also unserious. John Mateer looked like he was not fully ready to play football. It was a total slop fest of a game. I have no takes. I think these are 2 kind of mid teams.
I don't understand. Like, the backup for Oklahoma must be absolutely awful because Mateer coming off of hand or wrist surgery after 17 days seems like medical malpractice. But
it's the kid they benched Jackson Arnold for, Hawkins. Michael Hawkins, I think, is the backup quarterback. Probably would have been better off going with Hawkins in that game. The other big one, Indiana 30, Oregon 20. Kurt Cignetti has done the best coaching job in America I've ever seen. Indiana is a perennial cellar dweller in the Big Ten, and they just went into Autzen and took Oregon's lunch, and they beat the fuck out of them, man. Their defense fucking bottled up Dante Moore. They bottled up Decory Moore, Kenyon Sadiq. Like, this final score is only close because Fernando Mendoza throws a pick 6 in the 4th quarter. After that, gets tied 20-20. Indiana scores 10 straight, and it's not that close ever again.
Do you see the halftime interview he gave when he was? I forget who the sideline reporter was. Did you catch that by any chance?
No, I wasn't in front of the TV for the first half of the game. I got the second half here.
Look it up. I'll try to see if I can find a clip. It was an all-time sassy. I'm really pissed off. I have to do this interview right now, but it was kind of hilarious at the same time.
I mean, that's Kurt Cignetti.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
It's such an awesome story, honestly, man. He's great coach, great fucking. Told you, Fernando, Ian, you got this pick right. Fernando Mendoza, The Jets are probably going to ruin him come next fall, but he's getting paid to do it.
Now,
Paid
team,
a lot of money.
I might start to be a booster at the University of Indiana, so they keep Kurt Signetti around, and Penn State does not hire him.
Whoa,
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. You're getting a little bit ahead of schedule here. We're gonna wrap back to that one.
Just stating my booster status for the record.
Wait. So you cut out a little bit. You're a booster?
Yes, I'm officially a booster for the University of Indiana.
Okay,
I haven't
so
donated a single cent to them, but just needed to get it on the record. That's where my head's at.
We're gonna need a home field sponsorship after that. Real quick, also in this slot, Iowa State has completed its fall from grace, losing to Colorado, unranked Colorado, 27-14. They're now out of the top 25. The Big 12 is now a one-team league.
Real quick note on this: that was a cool field storming, but that I don't know. Is that really worth a storming?
When you are 2-4 and you beat a 4-2 ranked team, and your season's already kind of gone sideways, we'll allow it. Also, Colorado historically bad. You know, they were good last year, but that was an anomaly with Shadur and Travis Hunter. I'm all right with it. I'm personally all right with it.
Weren't they like playing for national championships in the 2000s? That just feels like a school that I don't know.
In the 90s they were.
90s, all right, yeah, all right. Yeah. We'll give them a 30-year grace. But I just had that thought. I was like, really?
None of the students there remember when Colorado was playing for titles.
That's true. Yeah.
They also like stormed the field on Deion's like first win because they were winless for so long. Like they're a team that storms more than most.
They're just stormers. We at Pitt are very much not.
We're not allowed to be. They'll like. I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, we don't want to hear any more about Acrisure Stadium and the turf conditions there.
Diggs will have something to say if we storm that
field. Yeah, if we ever storm that field, I'm taking a whole thing of sod home with me, and then you can go repair it. Other ones to note: Georgia Tech stays unbeaten, beats Virginia Tech 35-20. Oregon State now 0-7, loses to Wake Forest 39-14. They just fired their coach. Arkansas almost upsets Tennessee 34-31 in favor of the Vols. Bobby Petrino is going to get an SEC team. It wasn't Tennessee, but by God, they're going to get somebody. Iowa beats Wisconsin 37-0. That's crazy. Luke Fickell is a dead man walking.
Mm-hmm.
Texas Tech is the best team in the Big 12, putting the hurt on Kansas 42-17. They ran for like almost 300 yards in this game. Just Texas Tech, you basically gave a homeless guy about $1 million and said, go have fun. And that's what they're doing this year. They have a bunch of oil money and they're spending. They're certainly spending. They look really, really damn good. They're 6-0. Michigan loses to USC 31-13. It's not a good Michigan team. USC, we'll see. They got a big game coming up this weekend. And then I think the only other game I want to touch on, Utah beats Arizona State 42-10. If for my money, they're your title game participant in the Big 12, depending what happens this week in the Holy War. Let's get to the one everyone's waiting for. From Happy Valley, Northwestern University 22, Penn State 21. I mean, what a couple of weeks it's been for the Pittsburgh Panthers fan base. Because I didn't become aware of this until late in the game. Drew Aller out with a season-ending injury in this game. Penn State's now going to the Grunk. They've lost 3 straight. They're 0-3 in Big Ten play. They've got some tough ones coming up. And if you haven't heard, well, breaking news, James Franklin is now unemployed. He is getting a buyout somewhere north of probably $50 million to not coach Penn State. And for this team, for this specific program, to go from number 2 in the preseason polls to the hyped wideout to this close overtime loss to losing on the road to an interim coach UCLA, and then just shitting your pants against perennial bottom cellar dweller Northwestern. It's beautiful. I have no words. It is maybe the I was having so much fun dancing on this team's grave for the last, I don't know, 72, 96 hours. They fired James Franklin. They fucking fired James Franklin. This is insane.
Dude, James Franklin now has my dream job. He's just getting paid 40 million to not coach Penn State.
Uh-huh.
That's he he may not like a bandit like most college coaches do when they're fired early. But yeah, historic fall from grace. It's Blockbuster, it's BlackBerry, it's Penn State.
I just have like this, like I was watching the game and my roommates, they left and I had to I felt like Paul Revere getting them downstairs to like watch the game, to watch Penn State eventually lose. But the thing is, like, there's gonna be a really good 30 for 30 that comes out, and it's gonna be titled like the fall in 15 days or something, and we're gonna sit back here and we're like, this is the greatest thing ever created. But I just didn't think they were gonna do it. I didn't think they had the money to do it. I didn't think they would. I thought that James Franklin was the standard at Penn State, so to fire him there, I feel like firing Franklin midseason for this season makes finding a coach to take the job really hard. But I want to hear your guys' opinion on that.
So I'm of two minds of this. I think one, Franklin was with the expectations of the Penn State job, and two, this team. The UCLA loss had him as basically a dead man walking in my eyes, right? You know, he's coming off a loss to a previously winless team, and he's on the outside looking in already. He has the worst loss out of any like preseason title contender, right? But the thing that really did him in, I think, if this was not his like 10th year, right? If he didn't have a track record, the thing that did him in is that James Franklin is bad against top 25 teams and horrible against top 5 teams. So the whole thing was he builds up Penn State from the lowest point it's been, right, after the scandal, after the sanctions. He gets in this level where they're winning 10 games, and he might not win against the top 10, top 5 teams of equal standing or higher, but he never loses the games he's not supposed to. And as soon as he loses the games not supposed to, what's he doing? Like that's immediately the entire premise of James Franklin is no longer the premise. He's now just a poor coach who couldn't maximize a roster. And I just want to point out this stat because I think this is one that gives you the idea of why he was fired. Also, I didn't think they were going to do it midseason. I didn't think they were going to have the money ready, and we'll get into who they can look at next. But I don't think you're going to get better than James Franklin. But James Franklin's record against top 25 teams was 17-26. Pat Narduzzi's is 20-23. That's the same sample size, and Pat Narduzzi has 3 more wins at Pitt at a much less resource program. James Franklin just could not get it done against teams of equal standing, and that's what did him in. They were willing to live with that. They were willing to live with that because finally, they're in the playoff, they're in the semifinals. Then the whole premise falls out. He cannot get the wins he's supposed to. So what value does he bring you? And that's why they did it. I think it was a little bit overdue for what their hopes are for the program of like, hey, we're a national title contender. And I've been thinking about who they go and try and hire to replace Franklin. And I'm looking at these boards. I'm like, I don't know if any of these other coaches are better than James Franklin, right? Like, obviously, the hope and the want from the fan base is Curt Cignetti. Curt Cignetti's not leaving Indiana. Like, he's in a much better position at Indiana. That he's like 62. He can coach for as long as he wants there. He's gonna get a fucking statue built of him. Indiana has an infinite money cannon thanks to mega donors like Mason Kling and Mark Cuban. And he can keep doing his thing. He just beat Autzen, cementing Indiana as a top 3 team. That's their highest ranked AP rank of all time. And he's going to leave that situation, which he has gotten going in less than 2 years, to then go to Penn State, which is probably similar financially, but there's so much baggage that comes with being the Penn State coach.
You're under a
Why would you go into
microscope. Yeah.
And then the other thing too is like, is Penn State going to go like Indiana's got money? They're gonna keep him there. He's probably got a fucking massive buyout. He got a raise last year. Like, so in my eyes, Signe's off the board. So if you're looking, the current trend is, getting sitting head coaches with guys that running a program experience. They're not going to hire an assistant to go coach Penn State, right? So you're looking at like Matt Rule because of his Penn State connections and connections to the AD. Maybe Matt Campbell. I'm forgetting the other names that came up, but like if those are your top two guys, those are worse versions of James Franklin. Like Rule's a program builder, but does not have success against top 25 teams. He's much worse against top 25 teams than Franklin is. And maybe Nebraska is good this year, but say Nebraska is good enough because they have a pretty easy back end of the schedule here. Let me actually pull this up.
Well, I mean, Nebraska, they don't have a lack of resources either. If they wanted to keep Rule, I think they could, similar to Indiana, kind of pull the same card.
Well, let's also think. Let's game this out, right? I know that Rule has a clause in his contract that he can't look at other jobs unless he's being fired. I saw someone post that. But also, if you're talking about the cycle of hiring, right? Nebraska has Minnesota, Northwestern, USC, UCLA, interim coach Penn State, and Iowa. Right now, Nebraska's 5-1. You could see Nebraska going 5-1 again down the stretch and sneaking in as like an 11 seed. And I don't think a coach is going to jump from his team if he's playing in the playoff. So there's that part, right? And like you said, Nebraska is a similarly resourced program. They're getting all the Big Ten money. So then you're going to go hire Matt Campbell, who just lost to Colorado, unranked Colorado, 2-4 Colorado. Like, I get that on one level. I get that Franklin had to go because he was not giving you what you needed. But who are you going to get? You're going to go hire Manny Diaz? Is that the best pick for the Penn State job? Like maybe. Like I don't think the board for Penn State is as open as you would think it is for a job of this level.
Who's the I saw some rumblings. No, this is message board shit here. But offensive coordinator for the Bills. You know his name?
Joe Brady?
Yeah, I don't know if that was a delusional Penn State.
Yeah, there's no way Joe Brady would go to take the Penn State job.
I think the thing with Joe Brady is that he jumped at the first NFL job that offered him as the Saints pass game coordinator, if memory serves. I think that's a guy who wants to be in the NFL. Even though I know he has Penn State connections, and I saw that name get thrown around too, but it's pretty hard to. And then again, also Brady does not have any head coaching experience, I don't believe.
Yeah.
So that's a tough ask for firing a tenured head coach. Like, I don't know, do you hire Bill O'Brien again? Do you get him from Boston College?
Hell yeah.
It's an interesting coaching search, especially because, they're losing pretty much every commit in this class. And then you game out the rest of Penn State's schedule. It's at Iowa, home against number 1 Ohio State. On the road against number 1 Ohio State. Home against number 3 Indiana. Then you get a gimme with Michigan State. And then you get top 25 Nebraska at home. And then Rutgers on the road. Penn State's 3-3 right now. If you actually pick those games today, I'm saying Penn State's not going to a bowl game.
Oh, that'd be glorious.
Because of all this,
if they play that non-conference schedule and don't make a bowl game,
yeah. I mean, let's remind our podcast listeners: Pitt is still the only team in the state of Pennsylvania with a Power 5 win. Penn State's wins are over Nevada, FIU, and Villanova right now. And picking the games on paper with a backup quarterback, Ethan Grunkmeyer, who has no, the Grunk, right? Was the Grunk there. They'll probably get Michigan State, who's terrible. They'll probably get Rutgers. But would you say straight up that I think they're going to straight up lose to Iowa, Ohio State, and Indiana, and probably Nebraska is a toss-up that doesn't really land in their favor most of the time? Like, this is going to get ugly, man. We're on nuclear level hate watch for the next month and a half.
Yeah.
I just think that the last thing is like whoever Penn State inevitably hires is going to not be up to the scale of what Penn State fans think they should get as the next coach. And I think like the end of the day, like with in the facet in which they fired Franklin, you have to get a coach that can essentially make you compete for national title next year in the minds of the fan base, which is almost impossible with like who they're probably going to end up hiring. And it's not going to be good. And it's the wheels are going to fall off the bus. And I think like if they don't get this coaching search right in the next, if they don't have immediate success with the next coach, the program's going to start to become very mediocre in the new Big Ten.
Yeah, I'm looking at the coaching candidate list here that the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette put out. I think one game I forgot to mention, maybe Eli Drinkwitz out of Missouri. Maybe. I don't know if he wants to leave the SEC. I think Missouri is also a very cushy job for him. There's lower expectations there, but these guys are freaks and like to hop up. And past that, you're getting into coordinators. You're getting into PJ Fleck. Very funny name to put on this list. That is hilarious. PJ Fleck at Penn State. that's funny to think about. Looking like Al Golden, who's the Bengals DC. Joe Brady is named. Brian Hartline, not leaving Ohio State. What are you doing there? DeAnton Lynn, who's USC's DC. Will Stein, who's the Oregon offensive coordinator, named for every job this cycle. Like, I think they might have to go the coordinator route, and that's always a gamble because they do not have head coaching experience. So it's a situation that we will actively be monitoring here at Simplify. We are running long, so we're just going to go right into the preview for Syracuse. This one's pretty short. Syracuse has a backup quarterback and a terrible defense. I'm here on Game on Paper. Syracuse's defense gives up a ton of yards. They don't really stop you at all. They're a little bit better against the run. They're sort of middling there, but they are horrific against the pass. They're the number 117 team against the pass on this site. They are terrible on early downs. They are not great on third and fourth downs. And they get into shorter than average third downs as well. And their offense is just middling now with a backup quarterback. I know this is a quote-unquote rivalry game, but this is the 7:30 game on ACC Network. Max Brown's commentating. This is one that, Mason, you mentioned earlier, these next three games against Syracuse, NC State, and Stanford, these are ones you got to have. These are ones that you need to start getting everyone on the same page because these are teams that are hurting. They have obvious flaws and that you need to win against. This one, to me, is just score more than they can handle because they're terrible through the air. You're going to have success through the air all day. Just lay the points on. I don't really know. I don't really know much else to say on this game. It's Syracuse ain't good. They're without Angeli. Who's their starter now? Do you know what the name? Ian, I know you're watching the tape here.
I just had it pulled up. I just took it off. Let me see if I can get it before you. But
Ricky Collins was their quarterback. He threw 3 picks his last time out and against SMU. They're on a 2-game losing streak. They lost to Duke 38-3 at home, and they lost to SMU 31-18 on the road. Syracuse is not a good team this year. This is one you got to win, and if they lose this one, that means basically the season's over. I don't know. It's one where I expect, like I said, passing in to have a big day. Desiree probably going to be a monster as a pass catcher. Expect to see some of the wide receivers probably have a lot of success here. This is a tune-up game. You got some things wrong against FSU. Get the defense locked in and get the offense still humming, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton to add. I mean, if Syracuse puts a linebacker on Desmond Reed, he might have 300 receiving yards like Florida State did.
Yeah.
Pitt, as an away team, is an 11.5-point favorite on most sports books. I mean, I don't remember the last time a Pitt team was that big of a favorite against an ACC opponent on the road in a while. So let's just take care of business, and hopefully Mason wins another ACC Player of the Week. The one thing I'm looking to see is I want to see Mason get – like Kenny Johnson was very much involved in Boston College. I'd like to see Kenny establish himself as the wide receiver 1 leading up until this Notre Dame game, even though Poppy Williams has been incredible. And maybe we'll see a little more Blue Hicks this week as well.
Yeah. I like to see the wide receivers sort of have a bounce back game. I know Poppy Williams is great against Florida State, but yeah, some of these other names need to get involved so that it's not just it's sort of been a revolving one-man show this season where one guy has a big game and everyone else is kind of quiet. I like to see some distribution there. That would be nice to see, but it's not a complaint I have just yet, basically. I know it kind of just depends on the game who's going to be open, really, is what I see from this offense. Mason, you got anything here?
Nah, I can't say I watched a whole lot of tape on the Syracuse Orange, but I'll piggyback off what you said. Like, it's a game to get right. It's a game to get better. One more start for Mason to help clean some of those picks up, and like you said, learn to slide. So it'll be a good.
Learn to slide.
That's the big focus or the point of emphasis this week is slide. But no, that's about all I got.
All right, cool. We're going to run through the Week 8 slate real quick. It's actually a pretty good one. I'm looking at it here. We've got kind of a banger Friday night in the ACC. You've got 7 o'clock Louisville going to Miami. I think this is probably going to be the Miller Moss is an idiot, but he can still throw the ball. We all know that all too well. Pretty big test for Miami, even though it's at home. Interested to see what Miami's passing attack does, or Louisville's passing attack does against the Miami defense. And then the substance abuse game of the year, UNC going to Cal at 10:30 on Friday. This is a Bill Belichick hate watch. I have nothing on the football quality of this game. If Bill Belichick goes out to Cal and loses, I'm going to be smoking. I'm going to be smoking him.
Are they gonna, if they lose to Cal, is they gonna release another statement that he is definitely not looking for other jobs and definitely fully committed to UNC?
I don't know if Bill Belichick is looking for other jobs. I don't know who's going to hire him.
Well, he wants a cushy, soft landing spot in media.
Right. I think there will be another statement made if they lose. And we're talking about the coaching cycle. This is a job that I would expect to open by the end of the year. There are already reports that Bill Belichick is looking to structure his buyout to let them do that. Going into the Saturday slate, got a couple of pretty good games here at noon. You got LSU going to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt coming off a bye. I would like Vanderbilt to bounce back from the Alabama loss and get LSU out of here. I think they're bad. I think they're stinky. Their offense sucks. I'd like to just pay no mind to LSU moving forward. I think Vanderbilt gets this one. It's big that it's at home. I like Vanderbilt here. Also in the ACC, you've got Georgia Tech undefeated going on the road to Duke. Duke's got a pretty good offense. They're favored in this game too. This is a big one for the conference title race, as both Duke and Georgia Tech are undefeated in the ACC. So the winner here is in a really good spot, and the loser is already moving towards the outside. And then the Big Ten on Fox, you got Washington going to Michigan. It's a nice uniform matchup, but I think Washington might roll here because of Stink Fartendale. And his blitzes for Michigan not going to line up well against Denzel Boston, the awesome receiver for Washington. Okay, I am moving through the rest of this slate. It is. So if there's any other close games, you can keep an eye on them. But I think these top 3 are good enough to get you through that noon slate. Moving to the 3:30s, Ohio State, Wisconsin, no interest. They're going to kill Luke Fickell's squad. Same thing with Michigan State and Indiana. Texas A&M, Arkansas. We're on Bobby watch. I don't think they're going to pull it off here, but Bobby Petrino is always liable to go and fuck somebody's day up, so maybe. The big one here, though, is Ole Miss at Georgia, 3:30 on ABC. I don't really have a read on this game because I think both of these teams are They both didn't look great last week against pretty inferior opponents, but they're somehow in the top 10. But the other part is that Lane Kiffin never wins these games. So it is narratives.
Yeah, I like Georgia because they get 4 timeouts.
Yep. Man, if you're the SEC, you have to be like Georgia. You only get 2 timeouts. Like you have to do something there.
Did they release a statement about it or no?
The refs like apologized.
Oh,
I mean, they also had that weird fumble, like that the last 2 minutes of that game in the first half took like 40 minutes real time. They were reviewing everything. They didn't give Auburn a touchdown they should have had. Like, if karma works in this world, Ole Miss wins. However, I think that God has abandoned us. I think Georgia probably wins this because Lane Kiffin is SEC James Franklin. Also, SMU Clemson is on TV. I would like to see Clemson out of here, get them a third ACC loss. Don't think it's going to happen because SMU is wildly variable this year, but you never know. Cade Klubnik is not the greatest quarterback in the world. Moving into the night slate. Wow, these 7 o'clock games suck. Texas, Kentucky, no thank you. Penn State, Iowa would be a hate watch, but I don't have Peacock, so no thank you. UCLA is going to win their third straight game against Maryland because it's October, Maryland. But the 7:30 games, obviously we're locked on Pitt, but we do have some really good games counter-programming here. ABC is Tennessee, Alabama, and NBC is USC, Notre Dame. I tend to think that Alabama will probably handle Tennessee. I think they've been a little bit too shaky this year. They've already got one SEC loss, and I don't really think they're going to be able to keep up with Alabama's offense. Their defense has been looking better as well. And then USC Notre Dame is the one I'm interested in outside of Pitt because this is one where either of these teams loses this game, and I think they're on the outside looking in for the postseason. Mekhi Lemon is awesome for USC, but Notre Dame, for some reason this year, has a awesome offense and no defense. So this may be a game where USC and Notre Dame score like 90 points.
It's a Big 12. Big 12, Notre Dame and USC.
There are like some dead Notre Dame coaches that are rolling over in their grave at the thought of like a 44-41 USC Notre Dame game. Also, last one I want to shout out, 8 o'clock on Fox, Holy War, Utah at BYU. This is a Big 12 elimination game. Two pretty good teams. I hate BYU's quarterback because he wears 47. That is on Sirius. Get a real number, young man. Don't have a good read on this, but I think this will be a good game. If you've got a quad box setup, if you got a multiple TV setup, I would recommend this one be on your second screen. It's a real rivalry because well, it's weird because in BYU, so it's going to be a lot of fans who can't curse, which is always a strange thing to think about with BYU. But this is going to be a pretty good game there out in Provo.
They're going to drink so much Coke.
Could be a lot of soaking going on depending on how this game goes. So,
no, they'll soak either way because they're Mormons go to Utah.
True.
I think talking about Utah fans soaking is where I see that the podcast needs to be over. So we've hit the hour mark here. Thank you all for tuning in to Simplify Podcast. If you like the show, follow us on your podcast app of choice. Recommend us to the Pitt fan in your life, and follow us on Twitter at Simple5Pod. And we will talk to you after the Syracuse game.
Hail to Pitt.
Hell of Pitt.